Hello everybody. So I think this is the first time going live in this group. My name's Andrew. I'm a personal trainer and fat loss expert. I've helped over 100 women to lose weight, feel great, all without cutting out the foods that they love. So I thought today I'm going to jump online, go live, because today is just a driving day between clients. And I thought we'd talk about fat loss and everything nutrition. And I thought I'd call it the Great Big Fat Chat because it rhymes and it sounds good. See, the thing is, we talk about being fat, we talk about weight loss, and nobody actually wants to lose weight. Whenever we say we want to lose weight, what we actually mean is we want to lose fat. We want to look better, we want to feel better, we want to fall in love with ourselves again. And that's the key, isn't it? You know, we want to feel good, we want that high self-esteem. And with my clients especially, one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of us don't want to lose weight for health reasons. A lot of us want to lose weight because we want to feel better, we want to look good, we want to feel great, and we don't want to have to change our diet, eat like rabbits, and feel like we're just not enjoying the experience of food. And that's one of the problems that we have whenever we go on a weight loss journey, whenever we try to lose weight, whenever we go on a diet, whenever we want to lose fat. We overhaul our eating habits, we change our diet, we restrict ourselves, and what we do is we eat lettuce, we restrict our calories, and we constantly feel hungry, we get headaches, we feel lethargic, we feel like shit. And it's not the way to do it, because if you don't enjoy the process of being on a diet, that diet isn't going to be sustainable. That's the core issue that we have. So how do we overcome this? Well, it's easy really, if you think about it. If you don't enjoy eating like a rabbit, then don't eat like a rabbit. If you like eating chocolate, then eat chocolate. If you like eating fat, greasy foods, eat fat, greasy foods. The trick is moderation. So, you know, don't get me wrong, maybe we shouldn't be eating really greasy, fatty foods. Maybe we shouldn't be snacking on crisps and chocolate. But at the end of the day, when it comes to fat loss, when it comes to weight loss, ultimately the calorie deficit is the key to losing weight. Now, the quality of how we lose weight will differ from person to person. You know, if you enjoy eating fruits and vegetables, then you're going to have a little bit of a better weight loss journey than somebody who doesn't necessarily. Because one of the issues that people have when they are overweight is, well, put it this way, people aren't getting overweight because of eating too many carrots. One of the issues that people face is a lack of dietary fibre in the diet. Now, fibre really helps keep us regular. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of how to use the bathroom and how the toilet works and, you know, how the bodies expel waste. But ultimately, the addition of fibre to the diet, it helps the body to process food a lot quicker. So our bodies know when we've absorbed enough nutrition, and okay, so the rest is waste. Now, our bodies will continue to digest that food until it's actually out of the body, until it's passed through our small intestine and all of that nutrition has been taken out. So fibre helps speed up that process. So when our body knows that it's got enough of whatever nutrient, it can really start to divert resources to get rid of that as waste. If those resources aren't there, and I am talking about fibre here, if that fibre isn't there to basically push that poo out, what's going to happen is your body will continue to digest the food and it will decide, okay, let's store this as energy because we can't expel it from the body. So that's one of the important things about fibre. It's why fibre is so important in the diet. But that's not the only thing that we need to bear in mind. Obviously, we know already about the impacts of protein when it comes to weight loss. Protein is well known to keep us feeling fuller for longer than carbohydrates and even fats as well. So when it comes to eating a high protein diet, people will lose weight a lot better and they'll lose body fat a lot quicker as well. And there's a few reasons for this, but primarily it comes down to what is the body's preferred energy source. Sorry, by the way, if we have any questions. We are live streaming on a couple of groups using StreamYard. So the questions won't come up, and also because I'm driving, it's probably not safe. But anyway, energy sources. So we have 3 core sources of energy. Okay, the first source is glucose, sugar, and that is the body's preferred energy source. It's what the brain needs to function. So that's the first source, glucose. The second favourable source is protein. Protein is found in our diet, but it's also the main building blocks of our muscles. So when protein isn't available in the diet, and when glucose isn't available, our body starts liquidizing our muscular tissue, and what ends up happening is we lose muscle mass, and we do lose weight, but we're not losing fat, we're losing muscle, because the body can liquidize muscle a lot quicker than it can glycolyze fat. And all that means is it turns it into glucose quicker than the other. So the final energy source is body fat. Now, body fat takes a long time to be processed into sugar, into energy that the body can use. And that process, again, is called glycolysis. It's not important, but glycolysis allows the body to convert body fat into sugar for energy. And this is how we lose fat. So we've touched on a few things. We've talked about how it's important to have the calorie deficit. And we've also now mentioned as well that we should have a high protein diet. So that's 2 critical things that are necessary for fat loss. And remember, we're not talking about weight loss at the moment. Weight loss is weight loss, whether it's body fat or protein or muscle, whatever. We don't want to lose weight, we want to lose body fat, okay? So we need to really make that clear. This whole thing isn't about losing weight, it's about losing fat specifically. So, calorie deficit, high protein diet. Reduce the carbs, reduce the sugar. And what that's going to do is it's going to say to the body, okay, we have protein coming in through the mouth as an energy source, so we don't need to liquidize the muscular tissue. We do need muscular tissue. We recognize that we need that for the strength and for the optimal functioning of the body. So low calorie diet, low carbohydrates, high protein. We feel fuller for longer. The body is able to use the protein that we consume as energy, and then it's able to favour the third energy source, which is body fat. So because it's getting the nutrients it wants from the protein, it's getting those amino acids for the repair and recovery, it's getting the collagen for the skin, all of the different bits of protein that we need for the body, is getting that from the diet. Okay, happy days. The body doesn't need to self-cannibalize the body fat, but fats as a macronutrient are still very important for health. So the fats are especially important for lubricating. It's also important for the cell membrane. So without fat, our cells just wouldn't exist. We wouldn't exist, we'd die. So we need to eat fat, and we do need fat in our diet. But in the context of fat loss, we can, to an extent, reduce the amount of fat that we need, because the body will get a lot of the fat from a lot of the nutrition from the body fat itself. So what happens? So we're eating the protein, that's keeping us feeling fuller for longer. The body doesn't need protein from the muscles for energy. It's getting the protein, but it still needs the glucose. And because you reduce your carbohydrates, the body isn't getting sufficient amounts of glucose, and this is where the magic happens. So the body says, look, we need glucose. We've got enough food coming in from we've got enough dietary protein coming in that we don't need to liquidize the muscle, and we know that we can get sugar from the fat that's stored, because we all know that excess glucose is stored as starch in the fat cells. Okay. We don't store starch, it's a starchy material, oversimplified primary school learning, but fundamentally it's true. So the body starts to liquidize the body fat using glycolysis, which is converting the body fat into fatty acids and then further breaking them down into glucose for the brain to function. And this is how we lose fat. So we're going to move on now. We've talked about how to lose fat, we've talked about fat loss. Now we're going to talk about a very specific, specialized diet called the ketogenic diet. A lot of you will have heard of ketogenesis and the keto diet, and it is a very complex, specialized diet, and people should not be going onto the keto diet lightly. I always say, listen, go to a doctor first and make sure the keto diet is right for you. And the reason for that is because it is an incredibly dangerous diet if it is not done correctly. There's a couple of myths in the keto space. And one of them is that using a stick of butter to stir your fucking coffee is healthy. No, it is not. Please do not be dissolving butter in coffee because it's just too much. You just don't need it. There is absolutely no dietary recommendation that says load your coffee with butter. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. If you're having nothing but grease in your diet and claiming that is healthy, please go back to school. It's an incredibly dangerous diet. But the way the keto diet works is by cutting out the carbohydrates, eating high protein and eating high fat, so that the body is forced to use fat and protein only as an energy source. And it works. It's a really effective diet, but it is again incredibly unsafe if not done under the supervision of a professional. But the way it works is it forces that glycolysis. And one of the things that's quite common with the ketogenic diet, and this is why I'm bringing the ketogenic diet up, is the phenomenon of the keto flu. And basically what that is your body feels run down because it hasn't got that glucose in the brain. So the brain says, shit, something's wrong here. Let's ramp up the immune system. Let's ramp up the production of white blood cells and antibodies. Let's see if we can tackle this, whatever it is that's making us feel crap. And what's making us feel crap is the lack of glucose. The keto flu clears up in a few days, couple of weeks, because the body adapts and it's now getting enough glucose from the body. In fact, it takes a few days for ketogenesis to set in. Ketogenesis is the state that the body goes in where it's using body fat for sugar, and it's like glycolysis on steroids. So the keto flu clears up, but this is what I mean. So you know that feeling of hunger that you get, and you start getting irritable, and you start getting a headache because you're not eating all day. That is a very mild form of ketogenesis. That's the state that you're in. That's the feeling, the sensation that you get as your body turns its main energy source off and starts firing up the generators inside your body to start burning that body fat. Okay? So it's a perfectly normal feeling. It's a perfectly normal sensation. And you can achieve that through a whole different range of dietary modes and mediums. So intermittent fasting, which is a very popular dietary technique, a dietary strategy, which is a hell of a lot safer than ketogenic diets. Intermittent fasting focuses on, it looks less at what you eat and rather how frequently and how you are eating. And intermittent fasting, usually people will have like a 12-12 window, a 12-hour window where they don't eat and a 12-hour window where they do eat, or an 8-hour window where they do eat and a 14-hour window, 14, my maths is awful, I think it's 14-hour window where they won't eat, where they'll be fasting. But by and large, to be honest, most of us do intermittent fasting naturally anyway, because we go to bed and we don't eat whilst we sleep. Most of us don't anyway. So, you know, for that 8 hours fast that we have when we go to bed is intermittent fasting. And this is why breakfast gets its name. Breakfast is break fast. It's breaking the overnight fast. And this is why breakfast is really, really important. It's considered the most important meal of the day. And there's a reason for that. It's because it is that first meal. It's the meal that breaks the fast. It's a meal that switches a switch in your body that says, right, go back to normal operating procedure. Go back to normal metabolic function and proceed as normal. That is what the break fast does. Breakfast. So breakfast is a really, really important meal of the day, and it's been proven multiple times over in various different studies that people who eat breakfast are a lot more likely to be a healthy weight, and also people who want to lose weight, eating breakfast it increases the chances of a successful weight loss result. And the reason why it does that is because when you eat a whole food, healthy breakfast, it takes you through to lunch. We're nice and full up. We don't feel peckish. We don't feel the need to eat crap. We don't feel the need to snack in between waking up and lunchtime whilst we're at work or whatever. But the problem that we have is eating breakfast in the 21st century isn't always easy. So breakfast, it takes a bit of time to make, especially if you want to eat a whole food diet, because anybody can get some cornflakes and shredders and frosties, all of these sugars that are really, really overloaded with sugar, all of these cereals that are overloaded with sugar, high carbs, bang them in a bowl, put some milk over it, but it's not the best breakfast. What we want to be eating is a whole food breakfast. So things like overnight oats, porridge, even a fry-up, even a full English breakfast is better quality nutrition than a bowl of Frosties or a bowl of shredders or whatever. So that's the difficult part, is having that whole food diet. Preparing a breakfast the night before isn't always appropriate. Some people really don't like overnight oats. I love them. But some people really don't like them. And there's not a lot of breakfasts that you can make when you go to bed and they'll still be nice when you wake up in the morning. So what we need to do is we need to come up with solutions for a whole food diet. We need to come up with solutions for breakfasts. And this is where one of the products that I sell personally is really, really helpful. So for a lot of my lady clients, they've got to take the kids to school and then go to work. And it's like, unless they're waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, they haven't got time to get the kids ready for work, get them ready for school, get themselves ready for work, make the breakfast, do their admin, get out the door and get to work on time. So we came up with this system, this solution, and it's a meal replacement solution. And we've all been there with the Slimming World and the Weight Watchers and everything else. And the problem with those is you don't have any sort of support. There's no support to help you get from where you are now to where you want to be, other than 2 paragraphs telling you how to use the product. And then when you finish using the product, you stop using it and you start eating normally again. And then we get fat. And the reason why we get fat is because we started eating normally again. Because our normal is to eat in such a way that got us fat in the first place. So if we've become fat because we've eaten what we think is normally, when we finish our diet and we go back to eating normally again, what's going to happen? Well, we're going to be indulging in that same overconsumption. We're going to be overeating. We're going to be eating more calories than we burn. We're going to be in a calorie surplus. And our weight is going to gradually increase. So the solution, first and foremost, and this is what I work with my clients, this is the very first thing that we do. Okay, so the very first thing that we do is I get my clients to keep an eye on the diet as they are eating now normally. And we use apps like NutriCheck or MyFitnessPal to do that. And once we've understood the state of the diet, once we know how many calories on average per week we're eating, how many calories per day that breaks down to, only then can we start understanding what we need to do to improve the eating habits to get us from where we are now with an unhealthy eating pattern to where we need to be, where we have that healthy eating habits, where we're eating in moderation, where we're not over consuming, and where we've got strategies in place, to coping mechanisms in place to actually cope with those times where we do overeat. When we go to the buffet, we don't want to sit there and eat just one small plate of food to ourselves. We want to gorge. So if we do gorge, what's the coping mechanism? What's the remedy? How do we get back to where we were before? Before we had that night of indulgence, shall we say? Well, we have to build those habits. We need to understand how we can compensate for these excess calories we've had today over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, to balance it out so that we're never in that calorie surplus, so we're never gaining that weight. And when we're in a very busy lifestyle, where we're working 50, 60, 70 hours weeks, and that's not just necessarily going to work, that's looking after the family, looking after the house, the housework, cleaning, cooking, taking the kids to school, going to the shops. You know, we're very, very busy people. And a whole food diet isn't easy because it's not convenient. And that's where my meal replacement systems come in. Because I make it convenient for you. All you have to do is follow the plan. 2 shakes a day to lose weight. 1 shake a day to maintain weight. And 1 shake a day in addition to your regular meals a day to gain weight. You know, it makes it so simple for you. And the meal replacement shakes that we provide have the highest quality nutrition. It has everything in it nutritionally that your body needs for that 1 meal a day. It's within your recommended calorie allowances on a 5 meal a day basis. It's got the appropriate amount of fibre and protein and carbohydrates in it that your body needs to function optimally. And for those who want a bit more extra protein because maybe they go to the gym and they lift weights, maybe they exercise frequently and they just want a little bit more oomph, then we can personalize their nutrition plan to improve the amount of protein that they're having in that shake. You know, and we're not talking necessarily about ultra processed refined foods here. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're a shake. It's a powder. It is ultra processed. It is ultra refined. But it's healthy. And that's the key thing. When used as part of a normal, healthy, balanced diet, these things are a silver bullet to fat loss because they make it so easy and convenient. So my clients who have been on this product that I sell and have been on this product for years, they've managed to lose weight, lose fat, feel great, all without eliminating the foods that they love to eat. Now, just imagine how that would be for you. Just imagine how that would be for you. Now, the people who are following me, the people who know me, saw me last year at 127 kilos. 127 kilos, I had 3 chins. There's a photo floating around me in my bee suit where I am just so fat, it's unreal. My knee is the same size as my head today. That's how fat I was. And it was 127 kilos of pure blubber. You know, this is how I got the name as the fattest personal trainer in Leicester. And maybe even the UK. Because I don't think there's that many personal trainers who weigh more than 120 kg with a 50% body fat percentage. You know, let's be real. So, I was huge. I was obese. I was fat. There's no way there's no way that we can beat around the bush. I was humongous. And it's only because I was able to put myself on the same plan that I put all of my busy clients on, that I was able to lose the weight. And I lost over 50 kilos in 6 months. Results aren't typical. My results will be different to yours. Everybody's individual results will vary based on different factors, your lifestyle, diet, how much exercise you got, whatever. So if I'm able to do it, and hundreds of my clients over the years have also been able to do it, then why can't you? You know, for the sake of £30 per month, in around about 6 months' time, so £180, you can finally have that body that you've been dreaming of all your life. You can finally achieve that weight loss result that you've been trying to achieve for years. You know, you can finally look in the mirror and recognise the person looking back at yourself and say, do you know what, girl, you've done fucking well. You know, and actually be proud of what looks back at you in the mirror and fall in love with what's looking back at you. You know, we sit here day in, day out feeling like shit because of what we're eating, because of how we look and how we feel inside. And all of this can be solved. All of this can be solved so easily with just a little bit of help. You know, think about how much money you've wasted on packets of crisps, pizzas from Domino's, and all of these foods that bring you comfort. Just think about it, right? Easily more than 100 odd pounds. Stupidly not more than 180 pounds. So why did he just crash into me? Mm-hmm. I hope not. So yeah, I've just heard something. Anyway, so why would you not take the plunge and put your hand in your pocket and, you know, pay that small amount of money to change your life. It's one of those. But anyway, moving on. So that's an option. Meal replacement is an option for fat loss and weight loss. It's not the only option. There's loads of options out there. Some of my clients, unfortunately, they have looked at things like Ozempic, the weight loss injections. Now, the weight loss injections, the way that they work is they disrupt your hormones, your endocrine system, and there's two hormones in particular when it comes to being fat. Not just in terms of being fat, but just in terms of everything. They regulate the appetite. So we have two hormones. One of them is called leptin, and one of them is called ghrelin. So ghrelin is the hormone that tells us when we're full, and leptin is the hormone that tells us when we're hungry. Now, here's the thing. When we're overweight and when we're obese, what happens is our body's response to ghrelin becomes limited. And a little bit like insulin resistance, the body resists ghrelin. So when we're overweight and when we're obese, we eat and we eat and we eat. And our body's releasing that hormone saying, we're full. Stop eating. We're full, you fat cunt. Stop eating. Please, stop eating. And we don't, because we're just not picking up on it. And we don't know 100% why that is. But what we think happens here is that the fat cells absorbs the ghrelin and basically inhibits that from getting to the brain so that the body knows to stop eating, so that we never get that sensation of feeling full. The good news is, as we lose weight, that effect reduces as well. Okay? So, ghrelin and leptin, they are very much homogeneous. One doesn't work without the other. And whilst the body isn't detecting ghrelin, it's detecting that we're hungry. It's detecting the leptin. And the leptin's telling us that we're hungry, we get the cravings, we want to snack, we want to eat. So you just think about that. From an obese point of view, you've got your body ignoring the ghrelin, and the body's producing more leptin because it thinks you're hungry. It's like it's begging. Your body is begging you to eat because the part of your body that says please stop eating is being silenced by being overweight. So there's not much we can do about that. There's not much we can do about that other than start losing weight. And this is difficult because if you're constantly feeling hungry, how are you going to lose weight? You know, you're always going to want to eat. And this is where Ozempic comes in. Wegovy, Ozempic, all of the semaglutide medicines, and that's a mouthful, semaglutide medicines, all work in much the same way. They turn off the leptin. They make the body realise that ghrelin is being produced. Actually, the way they work is through interfering with the insulin production. Way too much traffic today. Interfering with insulin production so that our body produces a little bit more insulin, so that it tells us that we're feeling full. I think. I'm not a doctor. I'm not 100% sure how Ozempic works from a biological level, but in a nutshell, Ozempic makes us no longer feel hungry. Okay, let's just leave it at that. So this is a benefit, but with Ozempic, Wegovy, semaglutide, all of these different drugs, they all work in the same way, and they can only in clinical studies they've only had a 5% efficacy, and what that means is you're only losing 5% of your body weight. But when you couple Ozempic with this system that I give to my clients, we increase that by over 30%. So people's weight loss results are 30% greater when using a meal replacement system with a moderate intensity strength training exercise, and also following a balanced diet. 35%. And we also know, because we're using metabolic exercises in strength training, and all that is just exercising the larger muscle groups. We know that just means we're not just losing the weight, we're losing the fat. And that's primarily what we want when it comes to weight loss. We want to lose fat. So this is where we are now. Okay, so we've talked briefly, very, very, very briefly, about metabolic exercises. I mean, literally a sentence. So what are they? How do they work? What's the point? So our metabolism is basically how the body regulates energy expenditure, energy balance. So the more we eat, the more our metabolism is supposed to fire up to deal with that food that we're consuming, to process it, to get rid of it, and do what it needs to do. As we get heavier, the body doesn't have as much energy to focus on the metabolism. Instead, the energy has to be used to keep us alive. So our metabolic function becomes disrupted. And that disruption means that although, yes, we're burning a lot of calories staying alive, we're not necessarily using those calories optimally in the most efficient way. And in fact, a lot of those calories are being used transporting the nutrients that we're eating, the excess nutrients, and storing them, because the liver is overloaded and it hasn't got time to deal with all of the food that's coming in. So it's taking the fatty acids that is broken down from the food and saying, you know what, look, let's just put these somewhere out of the way for a minute, we'll deal with them later. And that's what happens. So there are a few ways that we can actually improve our metabolic function through exercise. And one of the exercises that we can do is strength training. It doesn't have to be heavy. We don't have to be massive bodybuilders. All we have to be doing is getting ourselves moving. And if you are obese, if your BMI is greater than, I think it's 38, anything body weight related is going to improve that metabolic function. Body weight squats is going to really improve the metabolic function. And the reason why it does is because when we're lifting weights, we're damaging the muscle. We're causing micro tears and the body needs to repair those. So on one hand, we've got the energy expenditure from the exercise itself. But when we've finished exercising and we have the protein shake afterwards, our body can now just rest and recover. And through that rest and recovery, there is a huge amount, a stupid amount of calories being used to repair your body, to repair the muscles. And we already know that we want to increase the calorie output, the calorie expenditure to lose weight. So exercise helps us to maintain a calorie deficit, not just through using energy to move, but also using energy to recover. And when we go to bed, because our body's still recovering, we're still burning those calories in our sleep. So the benefits of exercise don't just stop when we stop exercising. They continue onwards. The question is, why strength training? Why not cardio? Well, cardio really works the heart muscle. And the heart muscle is pumping day in, day out, all the time. You know, all your life. It never stops. If it does stop, go see a doctor. So, the heart doesn't need to repair itself in the same way that our muscles do. Because it's not under the same amount of intensity. And yes, it is under more intensity when we exercise, but it's not creating the micro tears in the cardiovascular muscle as it does in our skeletal muscle. And that's the key. So whilst cardio is good for cardiovascular health, it isn't necessarily good for fat loss. Not on its own anyway. Now, we always say to our clients, if they really, really, really want to do cardio, then that's fine, do it. If it works for you, it works for you. Exercise has to be enjoyable, otherwise it's unsustainable. But for people who aren't interested so much in a rigorous cardio exercise, cardio is still very important. Cardio is still very important. So how can we incorporate cardio into our exercise training when we want to lose weight? Well, it's easy. use it to cool down. There's no point using cardio to warm up, and I'll explain why. Unless it's leg day, you might get away with using the treadmill and the Stairmaster. But otherwise, it's not really the best way to warm up. Because there's no point running on a treadmill for 10 minutes to then go do some bicep curls, because you're not warming your biceps up when you're running on a treadmill. It's counterintuitive. So to warm up, when you're doing strength training, start off with a lighter weight, get some volume, and then bump it up to your what's it called? Your active working load. Cool down with cardio, because with cardio you're cooling down with cool downs, you're cooling down the whole body, not just the muscle that you've been using. So cooling down with cardio is absolutely fine, and it's a really effective way of improving cardiovascular health, because you don't need much. You know, people who train cardio excessively do so for the endurance, you know. And if you're not looking for the endurance, then you don't need to train excessively in cardio. If you're getting out of breath when you're running up the stairs and you're not obese, absolutely you need cardio. That's the thing, okay? So, yeah, I think that's it. I think I've covered everything that I want to cover today. If you do want to find out more, jump online, check me out on andrewhillpt.co.uk. If you want personal training services, then kickstart.andrewhillpt.co.uk is the one that you want. If you're only interested in nutrition coaching, visit dietpal.co.uk, where you can access the meal replacement system that we use. You can also book your free nutrition coaching, because everybody who works with me gets free nutrition coaching, because I love talking about it. And if you want to get in touch, if you've got any questions, then you can reach out to me anytime on WhatsApp on 07845 555 766. Any questions, drop them down in the comments below, and if I get notified, I'll reply to them on here. Alternatively, you can send me a personal message at any time, but don't forget to like our Facebook pages, Andrew Hill Personal Training and Diet Pal. Have a good day. Cheerio.